You looking to buy some land? You better know the soil you're going to put your land on. Actually, it's pretty funny. I had let me make myself bigger here. Had a guy email or put me on the link in the one of my YouTube videos about some land he's trying to sell in Maine, and just for giggles, I said, I have no clue where it is in Woolwich, Maine, wherever that is. But anyway, I said, I wonder what it's like up there. So I just looked around because, I love Maine. I frankly don't ever expect to move back there, but it's fun, man. I mean, I like looking at, I've always loved maps. Maps just always have intrigued me. I don't know why. It's weird. I just love maps. I just always have. The fact we can get on there and do a street view of it's insane. I love it. I can look at maps of Rapid City and Bangladesh, you name it. I just find it interesting. Always have. So I was doing some just research, I guess, just scouring the interwebs, and I came across this site which was awesome that kind of showed you the soil of the land for where you're trying to buy. I said, that's freaking nuts. And let me tell you a story. So my parents, after they got married, this is probably, I'm probably not doing this story justice, but my understanding was when they got married, they were moving back to, they're not moving back, they're going to move to Maine. They had bought almost like a mail order piece of land someplace in Maine or even Canada or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, up there someplace. And so they bought this rundown. They had this rundown pickup truck, and they couldn't afford the toll, so they had to take these back roads. And they went through like New Mexico. The thing is it's actually a very interesting story. If it's true, it'd be interesting to have written a novel on that for sure. But because it'd be interesting to see what they saw. And look, man, my parents and I we don't talk, so I don't know anything. I mean, I just going off the or whatever of stories I've heard before. So I don't know if it's, I mean, I'm assuming it's true. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, so they get to Maine and they go to this land that they bought sight unseen, and it turns out it was just rock. You couldn't farm it, you couldn't raise anything. They got rooked, no other way around that. And I think my grampy had given them like $1,000 or something like that, and this is back in '69, which is a lot of money to buy that land. And they got there and they just they got snaked. And my mom was telling me a story too. Like they were driving and they broke down on the side of the road in some cold or something like that, and she had to go knock on some dude's door like in the middle of winter, and it's just me in tow. I can't remember the whole thing. I just remember my mom was telling me some crazy story about that. I can't remember. Long story short, they rented some crap place in Portland, Maine. They did some anti-gentrification stuff, and then they said, well, let's go to the islands. We can at least buy some crappy old house there and raise chickens and compost the whole thing. The whole back to the earth hippie movement. And so we did that. Turned out the house we ended up living in had no insulation, so it was probably need insulation if you're going to be in the winters in Maine, especially on the island. But anyway, so that's how they got to Maine, because they had like a mail order piece of land that they got rooked. I can't remember the whole story. I just remember we ended up in Peaks Island, Maine. And I think my grampy gave him the money to buy the house for a couple $100 because it was run down. Apparently my dad fixed up pretty good, and then I guess they sold it for a little bit of a profit. They took those proceeds, they bought a better house that had some insulation, and I just remember spending my dad fixed the steps in the back, just up there, with the little paint thing, just grinding off the paint, picking off the paint on, when I was probably 6, 7 years old, 2 stories up, doing like that with the paint, just hating life. So all I want to do is I just want to go hang out. I mean, look, I don't mind hard labor, but I hate hard labor when I'm forced to do it. I remember sitting up there like, I remember my dad trying to teach me how to drive a stick when I was in high school, and I couldn't get it. I just hate people telling me what to do. I hate it. I've always had. I just remember my dad, get up there, do this, and drive a stick, and help him. And in hindsight, I wish I could have learned a lot from my dad. But in terms of that kind of stuff, how to use your hands. But I just hate people telling me what to do, and I hate people criticize me and say, you're doing it right. I say, I don't care. I'm doing it my way or the highway. Stubbornness, man. That's the German part of me, by the way. You might wonder, Josh, you tear up a lot. I do. That's the Irish part of me. So my German part, I'm stubborn as freaking a mule. My Irish part, I'm very, let's be loving and freaking emotional. I'm emotionally Irish, stubborn German, a combination of the two, and I probably got the worst of both, frankly. But that's just me. It's your old buddy Josh. That's the way I am. Nothing you can do about it. It's not nature, nurture. It's not nurture, it's nature. The way the big guy upstairs decided to make me, don't know why, but here you go. Anyway. So that's the story of your old buddy Josh's plight to get to Maine, is that they bought some crappy old land. They couldn't farm it. They moved some crappy town apartment in Portland, and then they fought their gentrification, fought nukes and all that, and they said, let's go to the Welfare Island, which is what they ended up, I guess is what the name was. I didn't know that until just a couple years ago. All right, but anyway, so look at this website. This is freaking awesome. I'm telling you, this is awesome. I was... Gosh, I love the internet. Look, man, I don't get on Twitter. I'm off of Facebook now. Only thing I do is YouTube. I think I check LinkedIn like once every 2 days. Once every week. I just don't care. But, man, the internet is just so wonderful, which is what. But net neutrality, Josh, they're going to get rid of net neutrality, and then everybody will tell us what to do. It's been over a year since the Trumpster got net neutrality. The only people that are freaking limiting your ability to do free speech is Jack Dorsey, what's that dude's name? Zucky, and whoever runs Google. Certainly not freaking Ted Cruz. All right, so look, we're going to find the land we're looking for. All right, so watch this. We got mapping done right. This is, I don't know who these people are. The Land Brothers, your main land experts. Don't know who these guys are, but this is awesome. And they don't have, look, they contract this interactive map out, and I'll show you with here in just a second. But watch this. The Land Brothers utilizes MapRight. MapRight, that's what it's called, the industry standard for land brokerage. This cloud-based service will show approximate areas, locations of buildings and other improvements, natural features, soil types, geo-referenced photographs and videos, and much more data. All right, so let's see. Selling your property, our detailed mapping, buying land right here. The Land Brothers understands the frustration of trying to find a property on the face of the earth with little to no information. We have found a solution and made it free for our customers to not only find the listings we are offering, but to help you better understand the property before you spend your time and money to come see it. Soil capabilities, timber types, water features, contour lines, federal and state-owned lands. I just love soil types, soil capabilities. This is awesome. All right, so let's click. Man, I love this stuff. So because I love maps. I'm a weird guy like that. We're going to click on this guy, and it's going to take us to, I don't know, Rebel Hill Road, wherever it is. So we're going to go to map. All right, watch this. I don't know. It's in Aroostook County. That's where all the, that's way up north. So in Aroostook County, it's Rebel Hill Road, 140 acres. So we're going to go to soil report. Oh, this is freaking awesome. All right, so look at this, man. So you got acres. They got Thorndike, Shaley, Silt, Loam, 8 to 15% slopes, 2 to 8% slopes. So Howland, very stony loam, 0 to 8% slopes, which is HVB. So right there. So let's click on that guy. And let's see what else we can see. I guess that's right here. Howland, very stony loam, 0 to, so that's going to be pretty flat, is less than a tenth of an acre, less than an acre. Remember, an acre is 44,000 square feet, just FYI. Soil class 6S. So what is 6S, you might be wondering? I didn't bring it up. Hold on, let me pause and I'll show you. All right, so I have no clue what 6S is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, and we're going to look up land capability classification. The capability class, also shown as a Roman numeral, tells you how limited the soil is for agricultural uses. The subclass designation, shown as a letter, tells you what kind of limitation is the main problem. So we got land class 6S, so it's class 6. Soils have severe limitations that make them generally unsuited to cultivation and that limit their use mainly to pasture, range, forest land, or wildlife, food, and cover. All right, so what does S mean? Subclass S is made up of soils that have soil limitations within the rooting zone, such as shallowness of the rooting zone, stones, low moisture holding capacity, low fertility that is difficult to correct, and salinity or sodium content. Look, I haven't done any research. I don't know what that means in terms of your ability to grow crops. I don't know. I just don't know. But at the end of the day, we know for a fact that this says very stony loam, and it's had some other issues that you might want to consider there. So, all right, so let's get out of this guy. I wonder if we click on this. They say it right there. All right, so soil limitations within the resort doesn't tell us all that much. Physical conditions of these soils are such that it's practical to apply range or pasture improvements if needed, as seeding, liming, fertilization, and water control. These soils are generally unsuited to cultivation, which limit their use. So I'm not sure. I mean, if I'm trying to raise some crops, I don't know what that means. So let's go to 5W. Soils have little excess water. So if look, I mean, so here's 5W. Let's see if we got any 5. We got this guy, the MOB, which is right here, mob. All right, so let's get out of here for just a second. Let's look at mob, a bunch of mob right there. It looks like that's mob too. So mob has got excess water. So if you need some crops that don't want wet feet, this would be tough for it, I imagine. Have little or no erosion hazard, but have the other limitations and practical to remove that limit their use largely to pasture range, woodland, and wildlife. Nearly level, but some are wet and frequently overflow by streams, are stony, have climatic limitations and some combination of these limitations. Again, I don't know what that means in terms of your ability to grow corn, strawberries. I don't know, but I find it interesting nonetheless. Obviously, you don't want to have a sloping, and you don't have stones in there either if you can avoid it. So here we got PGB. Watch this. That's a 2E. Now that's pretty level. So let's see it say susceptibility to erosion, have some limitations that reduce their choice of plants or require moderate conservation practices. Well, that sounds pretty good. The limitations are few and practices are easy to apply. It may be used for cultivated crops. There you go. So in this case, you're going to have in this piece of land, you got 36 acres of 2E. So if we go back to, let's just make sure, 2E, soils have moderate limitations that reduce the choice of plants that require moderate conservation practices. So that's good. I mean, that's not bad. And then E is made up of soils for which susceptibility to erosion is a dominant problem or hazard affecting their use. Erosion susceptibility and past erosion damage are the major soil factors. So I mean, basically all you got to do is put some compost on there, man. I'd have your chickens going crazy there for sure if you're going that route. So anyway, so then we got, what's this? HOB. What's HOB? Gravelly loam, 2 to 8% slopes. That's 2W. Excess water again. So W is excess water. These soils may be used for cultivated crops, but there you go again. So I mean, if you need something that got to stay moist, you probably want to use that. If you need something that wants to be dry, you'd want to use something else. Either way, not stony. So isn't that cool? Man, I love this. So capabilities. I tell you what you can do: wildlife forestry, limited grazing, very intense farming. So none of these are going to be very intense farming, and that makes sense because we've done so much intense farming in the past. The soil has lost a lot of nutrients for sure. But, you know, you want to do not monoculture. You want to trade out crops every couple of years for sure. We got intense farming here. So the HOB would be intense farming. All right, cool, man. So you got 35 acres of intense farming. I don't know what that'd be up in Maine. I have no clue. Placed gravelly loam. Isn't that the place of those? All right, there you go. Again, it's class 2 is what you're shooting for. It's shooting for class 2. Yeah, very stony loam right here. So stony loam, moderate grazing. So that's all you're going to be able to really do is moderate grazing there. I just think that's awesome. I think that's incredible. I love that stuff. So anyway, these guys, I'm just curious. All right, let me pause real quick. I want to see you. Hold on a sec. So I just clicked on the Land Brothers listings. I just thought that this is their listings. I have no clue where these places are. So you got $50,000, 20 acres in some place called Whiting, Maine. You got Maine Coastal Home in Lubec. I have no clue where these places are. And actually, so they got a lot of listings. I wonder if they can do listings, just land listings. Oh, there you go. Land listings. Cool. All right, sweet. So if you're looking to buy some land for sale, farms for sale, there you go. Waterfront. Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Let's just click on farms. You're looking at farms for sale. You're my parents, 50 years ago, Maine farmhouse in Passadumkeag, Maine. I have no clue where that is. How many acres are on this guy? It doesn't say. Okay, well that's all right. I'm not sure what the status on this stuff is, but anyway, all right, that's not what I was looking for. Where'd that map go thing? Or not the map, the more details. Let's click on more details and see if it shows the acreage and what you can do on there in terms of farming or whatnot. I guess it don't show it. I guess you have to look at that. I don't feel like doing that. But pretty cool, man. If you're looking for a land, make sure you understand what you're buying. I know there's a lot of people out there who want to do that. This is one of the things I'm stoked about the millennial generation. I just listened to a song by Whiskey Myers, The Ballad of a Southern Man. Let me just read you some of the lyrics real quick. Hold on, let me pause real quick. Big fan of Whiskey Myers. They're like the Leonard, the modern day, or at least contemporary Leonard Skinner, in my opinion. I think they're fantastic. By the way, Gary Rossington from Leonard Skinner, just so you can't see where I'm pointing, but right that way, that's direct north. He owns some of the land up there. In fact, I think the land where I'm sitting here is what he sold to the developer for sure. Let's get rid of the Billboard's Pride Summit thing. But anyway, so I'm not Southern. I mean, I'm just old buddy Josh from Maine. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of us are the same. We're like, man, a lot of the millennials, a lot of people are, I don't want to say idealistic, but more, maybe we've put too much emphasis on the bottom line success in terms of growing bigger and bigger houses with less and less people, more and more debt. That way, so I've listened to Whiskey Myers for a long time. I'm a big fan of Whiskey Myers. I think their whole repertoire is fantastic. The song they're most famous for is "A Ballad of a Southern Man," which is good, even if you're a guy from Maine. But I like this right here. This is where they got their I'm drawing a blank with the name of the songs are. But anyway, they'll grind us up in a big machine. They'll feed us all on the same beliefs, holy dollar and a credit card. But we got a way of doing things. And no banker's going to steal from me. They want to tear it all apart. Oh, man, I just love that. They fed us with the same beliefs. Holy dollar and a credit card, i.e. go to college, graduate, go to some white-collar job, work in a call center, then get your jobs outsourced because the corporations need to make the money. And I'm telling you, man, the idealism of, like, my parents still rings true in me today, even at 49 years old. And I tell my kids, I said, man, there's better. Look, if you want to go work in corporate, I could care less. But you don't have to. You don't have to. I was telling my daughter today, she's come back from England, from her 3 months overseas. I said, why don't you go work for the Institute of Linguistics? Was it school? I forgot what's called. Anyway, something, scholastic institution for linguistics. It's a Christian-based organization that tries to train missionaries on how to go to various parts of the world, learn their languages to preach the good word. I said, man, do that for a couple of years. Do that for you. I mean, look, I could care less. I don't care, but there's so much more than just going from here to there as if the holy dollar and a credit card is what they've been selling us on. And if you want to go work on some land and figure it out, man, read my man Curtis, up there at the Urban Gardener, Curtis Stone, the Urban Gardener, a guy out in Indiana, Darby, I can't remember his name. I draw a blank on all these guys off the top of my head. But anyway, there's so many. You can make a living doing things other than just going to the 9 to 5 in the corporate environment where you're spending an hour each way. That hour each way of commuting is not doing any good. It's not. I appreciate if you're sitting there commuting listening to me, but man, you could be using that time better for something else. I don't know what it is. It doesn't have to be farming. It doesn't have to be ranching. It could be fishing. I don't care. But what I'm saying is that time spent in traffic to get your crappy old job, is it worth it when you could be using that time for something else that you enjoy, that you like doing, that could ultimately pay the bills? No. So think about that. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks now.